Welcome back again. Did you know that a majority of the MTG Arena players feel lost in the Timeless format? Let's change that. With the Timeless Metagame Challenge just ending, and this month's qualifier weekend on Arena is Timeless, so we're diving into everything Timeless that can help you navigate the complexities of this MTG Arena format. Timestamps are in the description below to help you pick and choose what information is most important to you. And here we go. First off, the format is incredibly fast, but not faster than the speed of light, obviously. But close. How fast? This fast. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. The format is kinda settled due to the top tier decks pushing out all the brews, which we'll discuss in a bit, that includes, but are not limited to, show and tell decks, energy, and various mana drain and dark ritual decks. While this video scope is not necessarily about the economic discussion of Arena, the barrier to entry is extremely steep. Thus, allow this video to help in selecting what to craft, as Timeless is a surefire way to watch your wildcards disappear faster than a Dave and Blaine magic trick. In my opinion, unless you have a stable collection with a sizable amount of wildcards, brewing with the idea of crafting a lot is not necessarily the best use of resources. In fact, I currently have 4 mythic wildcards left to construct a lot of decks in this format, yet still do not have much of the pitch elementals, for example. Good thing those cards are not in the top tier decks. Many players struggle to find the right deck or strategy, often feeling overwhelmed by the variety of options and the competitive nature of the format. It's easy to get lost in the vast pool of cards and deck archetypes, especially for newer players. That's why it is essential to understand the core principles of the format and identify the most effective strategies. So here are some common established archetypes that are popular that you can choose from. The data, suggestions, etc. are taken from untapped MTG Goldfish, porting modern or legacy decks, and playing on Arena's ranked ladder and metagame challenges as credentials. As always, this is strictly for best of 3. This video isn't necessarily a significant breakdown, however, if you would like to see such timeless content, leave a comment below on some ideas or suggestions. We'll start with Aggro first, because there really isn't much there as far as established archetypes. The Aggro archetype of choice is Energy. Energy also takes up the mid-range spot too because of how aggressive energy decks can be, but also grind with the best of the other decks while having enough reach that would make even Delson blush. Sure, there are other aggro strats such as Domain and Rakdos Burn, but they're not nearly as good as Energy. Your main weakness, however, decks that go over the top of you in one turn. Yeah, looking at you, show and tell. Next up is Midrange. Wait, didn't I just say Energy was that deck of choice too? Well, yes I did. However, I couldn't leave out scam-based strats. Most of these decks are with Grief, but sometimes you see Fury or Solitude. Different color combinations of scam, but mostly in the lower tiers. This is because of how powerful the format Timeless is, meaning if we take the best scam setup with Double Grief and Thoughtseize turns, they're trading a bunch of 1-for-1s on a single turn, just to put a 3-2 into play. While that slows down the opposing side, a 3-2 is not that scary, and that is usually the best the scam player can do, while every other deck can still go over the top of you because all they've been doing is trading resources 1-for-1 and now everyone's equal. Hey look, no judgment. If you like scam, by all means play it, or any other dirtily mid-range deck such as Sultai with ya boy Uro. However, the format has better things to do. Your weakness? Kinda already spelled it out, but you have too much to account for with combo, control, and aggro decks that you can basically be 49% against, but even post-board you do not move the needle enough for your proactive plan to be effective. Control players, this is for you.
And I kept saying, fuck!
I mean, we're all Magic players, and I love...
The pen is blue. The pen is blue!
Seriously though, control has game, but it can go into 2 different directions: tempo or full control. Now, some may argue that tempo is more mid-range than control, but as the owner of this channel, I am putting tempo here in the control pile. I'm an American, I pay my taxes, it is control for now as far as I'm concerned. Dimir Tempo is far and away the best deck to pick up, Psychic Frog, Tamio, Orcish Bowmasters, no not you, you historic piece of shit. Along with all the cheap, efficient interaction gives you effective strategies against most archetypes. Your weakness with tempo is the good players know how to navigate such a matchup. Protecting your threats is paramount, and if you ever are behind, it is extremely difficult to recover. That is not to say you can't, but tempo suffers from your interaction being a lot more potent if you are applying pressure. Without pressure, eventually you will run out of interaction, and the opponent is still above 10 life, for example. Now, there have been sightings of a reanimate package, but nothing to write home to your grandmother about. The other control decks? Well, they're all sort of merged into other decks, however. Show and Tell, seriously, go away. The best of them is probably Jeskai, though Bant could also be there. However, the control archetype alone suffers from the same mid-range problem. Mana drain, while powerful for example, does not necessarily accelerate you like it does for other strategies. Essentially, like the aforementioned, they have merged into the next part. Time to segue. Combo. Not necessarily like the Killer Instinct variant, that combo runs rampant. The main culprit? Show and Tell decks. And basically, if you play blue, you are usually on Show and Tell, sans the mere tempo. The most popular variant is 4-color Show and Tell, and boy is this deck annoying. Basically, Show and Tell exists to inform you that the Fun Police has arrived to arrest you if you're queuing into the Timeless ladder. It exists as a litmus test of the format. That's the good news. The bad news is that you have to put enough respect into the matchup and have an actual game plan, and still only be a coin flip with it. The other combo decks are plentiful, but the only one that comes close to being competitive is Charbelcher. Tangent alert, yes, I know of Omrithopter's Breach list, but bruh is a monster, and Breach decks are difficult to pilot. Want to learn Breach? Omrithopter's Twitch link and socials are in the description below. Happy hunting. There are roughly 2 different variants of Belcher, multicolor and the mono blue Ali Antrazi Belcher variant. I haven't tested neither of these, but I have played against Belcher before. It's not too bad. I want to say the mono blue variant is probably a meme, but Ali can win with a literal ham sandwich from Subway. But it has mana drain, so you can easily get comboed in one turn from trying to play the game, so that's neat. Combo decks have an obvious weakness, and that is you can play heavy hate cards. The issue? Show and Tell specifically gets around them 99% of the time. Want to play discard effects? They play Leyline of Second Eve on turn 0, and even sometimes they play the main deck. Want to play counterspells with pressure? You guessed it, they play 1 mana Cryptic Command Veil of Summer. The cards I like against these decks are Vexing Bauble, Boromir, Roiling Vortex, Deafening Silence, and Lavinia. We've talked about a lot of decks. Are there any tips and tricks to help with navigating the format? Certainly. TLDR, too long didn't read, go watch my top 5 mistakes video, which is up here. Now that all the self-promo plugs are done, what else? All jokes aside, one of the biggest things for me is seeing a lot of players at all levels playing unlicensed Hearst or other graveyard hate that has been completely outmoded. Look, y'all, on average the game is over by turn 3. Hearst does not help here. In fact, tapping out ever on turn 2, especially if you are playing any sort of interaction, is just asking to scoop up your cards and logging off to actually go touch grass. Why players refuse to play Surgical Extraction is almost unacceptable at this point. And yes, you can play this, tap out, and not feel helpless after it. In fact, Veil of Summer doesn't even interact with the graveyard, so go nuts. Another pro tip, listen, I love Brainstorm as much as y'all do, but how y'all use this card is worse than my knowledge of cars. I know the basics. I can change a tire, change my own oil, and even know when gas has gotten into the engine. Beyond that, I know nothing. Likewise, y'all know you always run 4 Brainstorms, cast it for 1 mana, and do it at instant speed. Beyond that, that is the scope of knowledge. Brainstorm is your reset, burst, card advantage, card selection, and many other aspects all in one card. The general rule of thumb is you want to cast this as last as possible and not be the first person to cast it. I understand there is a nuance of playing around Orcish Bowmasters, but generally you play your own while also understanding you play more lands than your opponent. So if they always hold up for Bowmasters, that is good for you because they are forcing you to do what you already wanted to do with Brainstorm anyway, and that's holding it back for as long as possible. So a quick recap. Timeless is a blistering fast format with little forgiveness in most facets. The best decks in the format are generally ones backed by insanely busted cards from Show and Tell to Omniscience to Johnny and Red cards and Dark Ritual to mana drain decks. If I were to pick one as being the best overall, it would be something with Show and Tell in it, due to it having access to the best sideboard cards to defend against everything in the format without much restriction. We've briefly discussed some tips and tricks involving sideboard upgrades along with increasing our understanding of the use of Brainstorm. The format has pros and cons with interactive gameplay, albeit that is less forgiving given how busted the format is with certain cards backing it. Remember, mastering Timeless is about practicing and understanding. By incorporating these tips, you'll see improvement in your gameplay. Now, if you made it this far, I appreciate every single viewer like you, and ensure you hit that like and subscribe buttons as it helps push the video out to more viewers like you without actually having a cost to you. If you found this guide helpful, check out my other videos for more MTG strategies and share your thoughts in the comments below. Happy spell slinging, and I'll see you in the next video.